on the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, focused on the Virgin Islands marketplace. This is the segment. It's called the Roundtable segment, and this segment allows us to kind of get into more of the processing of the procedure, if you will, of the different types of things that are offered at the EDA under the EDC program or under the Enterprise Zone Commission program. And we have today those representative from the lending division of the program. And let me just say a wonderful good afternoon to our guests. But before we do, again, let me just remind you, I'm Anthony Weeks, your host, and we do have the CEO of the Economic Development Authority, Percival Clouden. He serves as the co-host on the program, one of the co-hosts at least from the EDA. Today we have with us Diane, and I apologize for jacking your name up. Is it Dunkirk? Dunkirk. I was close. Right. Dunkirk, yes. Director of Lending. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And then we have Abraham Edwards. He is the SSBCI specialist. Now you're going to explain to us what that acronym means, right?
It's the Small States Business Credit Initiative.
Okay, great. First of all, we have the bankers with us today.
Yes, yes.
And I think for the purpose of the viewing public, I guess we want to kind of sort of walk them through what it's like, coming to the EDA for the purpose of borrowing money under your loan programs. But let me just, before we do, let me just say, when you think of business, going into business, there are different types of funding, if you will, that is used to go into business. You have a personal investment, your own equity that you put into the business. You have commercial loans, where you go to your conventional commercial banks and lending institution. And then you have equity financings, where you go and you get private investment equity to come in and invest in your business. But for the purpose of today's program, on the roundtable segment, we're going to take a look at government programs as it relates to government form of funds. And when we talk about government funds, according to the definition, it says government programs exist at the federal, state, and local level to help fund new and expanding small businesses. Each government program has its own set of criteria for what types of businesses can qualify for the program. The Small Business Administration is the largest federal funding source for small business. The SBA directly issues SBA loans, but commercial lenders actually administer the large majority of the SBA loans. In essence, then, an SBA loan is a commercial loan guaranteed by the federal government. The federal government's guarantee of the loan allows commercial lenders to provide loans to small businesses that otherwise would not qualify under the purely private loan programs. State and local programs also provide funding options for small businesses, including both loans and grants. The details for these programs vary widely across the United States. In this particular case, we're talking about the United States Virgin Islands and its Economic Development Authority, lending program. And so why don't you do the honors of introducing your staff, folks, yes, here on the lending program.
Good, thank you. We have Deanne Dunkirk, who is the Director of Lending, and we recently brought on Abraham Edwards, who is a veteran banker from Banco Popular of 30 years, to manage our SSBCI program, which is a State Small Business Credit Initiative program, which originated from Treasury to support the banks and encourage them to lend to our small business. Our small business in the territory, they have been suffering for the lack of funding, and even our US President Obama has recognized that and initiated this program, which we are participating. Our governor was instrumental in getting this $13.1 million to support the banks in lending. So we are looking forward to the banks being participative in this program so that we can sustain again our small business, see them to fruition, see them profitable, and see them grow and increase employment.
So if I am contemplating, or if I have an existing business, tell me what would be the incentive to come to you first before I go anywhere else? Why would I come to your, now you have the Government Development Bank and you have the
Small Business Development Agency.
Why
Yes.
why would a business person choose to come to you first before they go? Maybe they don't. Maybe they want to use their They don't want to use their personal investment, or before they go out and get private equity investors. What would be the incentive for them to do that?
Well, most of our programs require a declination letter from the mainstream commercial banks before they come to us. We are the second option. So when the banks decline you, you then come to us saying, well, listen, I'm deprived of a loan from the banks, from the mainstream commercial banks, and this is our purpose. This is the purpose
So
of the SBDA.
Your role is not a primary, it's
No,
a secondary.
it's a secondary.
Secondary role.
Yes, it's a secondary role. And we have been very supportive of our small business throughout the territory. And I would be the first to say that because we get the rejected clients from the mainstream commercial banks, we have a situation at hand with which we are working diligently, and that is the delinquency. Our delinquency is high.
So you have the high risk.
Yeah, we have the higher risk, we have the highest risk, and therefore a high delinquency. So, but we have mechanisms in place to reduce that delinquency and normalize the process.
And I want to bring you guys in. You guys serve as the bankers, if you will, the loan officers. And I want to kind of sort of piggyback off of what Percival just said in terms of the higher risk portfolio, the delinquency issue, and the question is, how do you mitigate that? So your job is to talk to us about, this is the round table, so we need to get into how the process work. I come to you, talk to me about the process. What is that about?
I'd like to start by saying that the Government Development Bank and Small Business Development Agency, we have a variety of different loan programs that we get funded through both federally and locally. The programs provide financial services to businesses that have been declined by a bank, as Mr. Clouden said. What our process is, if you first visit a bank and then you get declined by the bank, then you come to us. In terms of the documents that we need, it's pretty much the same. I think what I would like to let our audience know is that the process, I guess if you're patient with the process and you bring in all the sufficient documents for us to review your request, then that helps us expedite your request and provide a favorable recommendation. It's typical like going to a bank. And because most of our customers do have to visit a bank first, then coming to us is second nature. We have our typical application that we fill out, and all our applications are the same for the various loan programs we have. We have a Frederiksted program, and that's primarily based for customers in the Frederiksted town. We have a loan fund for microcredit. This is our only unsecured program that you come into. So no collateral is needed, no guarantees from the owners are needed. You pretty much have to be creditworthy to participate in that program. We also have
is there a credit score, FICO score, that's necessary in this process?
We're currently working on that. We will put that into place.
It's not in place now.
Currently, no.
Okay.
No. But then
Which
because
is very attractive, by the way.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
And because of the high delinquency rate we're facing, that's why right now we are going to be more diligent in reviewing our applicants, and that's when the credit score will come into place. So we're trying to use that so that we can mitigate that high delinquency and try to minimize it. One program I want to make sure, because this is our bread and butter right now, I really want to stress on is our State Small Business Credit Initiative program. That's the only loan program we have that is not a direct program from us, because then the customers first have to go to the banks. The banks would then come to us for an enhancement. And Mr. Edwards will get into that, but we have a collateral support program, a guarantee program. So a customer, because banks, and President Obama recognized that, banks were not really aggressive in lending. He came up with the program. We, in the territory, had to come up with what the banks needed so that we could then provide the support to the banks so that they would then lend. We came up with a collateral program. Given the real estate market, we came up with that program because the values of primarily real estates were decreasing so much. You find that applicants did not have the sufficient collateral. So EDA came up with the program to provide the collateral support to the bank so then they would continue lending to their borrowers. We also came up with the guarantee program, and that's primarily for, as banks looked at primarily new businesses and they did not want to get into the program, they found out it was too risky. The guarantee programs provide them with a guarantee enhancement so that they're willing to more help with new entrepreneurs so that they can start businesses or expand on businesses that they have. We also have the payment and performance bonding under that State Small Business Credit Initiative program. And that's primarily for our local contractors so that local jobs are kept in the territory, and that, it's like we have to build jobs, expand jobs, and give the local contractors the opportunity to participate in programs that they were not able to do. I'll let Mr. Edwards get into the State Small Business, because then I do want to say too that we have a limited time to use that SSBCI fund, and we want to use it within the next 2 years. So we're really pushing this program right now.
I just want to sort of, before Mr. Edwards jump in, just kind of sort of recap where the fund's coming from. Who is the investor? Where do you get your money? This is high risk lending, and so give me an idea of who the source is, and obviously this sounds more like a grant, because obviously if people are really delinquent and defaulting, it's really a grant program, isn't it?
Well, historically, one may conclude that it was a grant program. Mm-hmm. But we now are analyzing our credits more diligently, with more sophistication, and we have a very good board of directors to whom we present our loan applications, mm-hmm. and it has to pass the muster.
Let me add to your question. The funding we get, we have different loan programs, and it's based on the funding. We get our funding through the USEDA, the United States Economic Development Authority. If we apply for various grants, providing what's available, they would have different eligibility or criteria that we would have to take into place when we look at an applicant. Our USEDA loan fund that was funded by the Economic Development Department of Commerce, mm-hmm. we have a maximum of $75,000 we can lend under that program. Mm-hmm. We also have our microcredit loan program that's unsecured. It was locally funded by the senators, correct. We have the State Small Business Credit Initiative program. That was funded through Treasury. We also have our small business.
U.S. Treasury or local
Yes.
Treasury?
U.S. Treasury.
US
I
Treasury.
just
Yes.
want to make sure you said
fine.
Treasury.
U.S. Treasury. We also have our Frederick Stead program, and that was funded through the local
Bonding.
senators.
Yes.
The bonding
Bond
program
issue.
that was done through the government,
Yes.
the local government.
We got some funding through the local legislature, approximately $5 million, which the PFA administered from one of the bond issues, and that went like that.
It was exhausted.
Yes,
immediately.
in a very short time. So we are doing more lending, and I will add to Deanne's statement that we also have a USDA fund.
Yes.
We had applied and obtained a loan from USDA, where we borrowed that money and we repaid at a rate of 1% over a 15-year period.
Speaking of USDA, conventional banks are not really eager, or they simply don't lend money to farmers. You know, the agricultural business. It's not something that they're excited about. Mr. Edwards, let me just bring you right in. Let's talk about loan limits. Let's talk about the kind of people that are not eligible to borrow money from you, from the EDA.
Well, a company or an individual would be disqualified for lending for several reasons. Number one, if the purpose of the request is illegal. Number two, the financial track history of that company or individual might be a disaster, or the projections submitted in the case of startups might not be realistic. The
Business plan.
Yeah.
I'm looking for buzzwords. So you're saying
Yeah.
that no matter who you are, you part of the process is that you're expecting to have a business plan. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's
yes.
correct.
The collateral might be unacceptable or inadequate. The business venture itself might not be feasible, and a multitude of reasons.
So I can't
Yeah.
come in, myself, anyone, John Q. Public, can't come off the street and say, applying for a personal loan. I need to borrow some money. Where do I fill out? And then you kind of look, review it and say, you give me the loan. I have to have a real business plan
A realistic
coming in
business plan coming
in order
in.
to be able
Yeah.
for consideration and review and consideration.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We would review that business plan in its entirety, and sometimes you might miss some salient points in that plan. We will discuss it with you. You will improve it, because our intention is not to decline loans. Our intention is to make a loan, a quality loan. So if there are some weaknesses in your presentation, in your business plan, we will make recommendations, suggestions, you will improve it, and then we will move ahead.
Of the business plan, we do work with the SBDC, Small Business Development Center.
And who are they?
They were currently located. They used to be located at Sunny
Sunshine
Hours
Mall.
Shopping. Yes, Sunshine Mall. I'm sorry. They've since relocated, I believe, to somewhere in Peters Rest. I'm not quite sure that location.
Right, but who the funding source? Who are they? Who
It's
the
under the
organization?
University
of the
Yeah.
Virgin
of
Islands.
the Virgin Islands. They receive federal funds and funding from the university also. It's managed by the university, and their mission is to provide technical assistance.
Oh, the technical. They're not lending the money.
No, they're not lending. They're providing technical assistance to entrepreneurs in the form of business plans, financial statements, projections.
So if someone comes in,
and
don't have a business plan, you then
Refer
redirect
them
them to the.
And this is free of charge.
Oh, there's no
To the
there's no charge of that.
prospective,
Correct.
Well, yeah, that's good. That's good. Let's talk about the. Usually, you have a down payment, if you will, the equity that you put into a loan. Is again, I'm not sure if you said that there was no requirement for equity, or is there a requirement for equity?
Most banks require that the borrower inject at least 20% equity into any loan proposal.
And you're asking for the same,
Yes.
20%?
Yeah, we are asking for between 10 and 20 because our mission, our mandate is different than the mainstream commercial banks. We are there to help small business entrepreneurs to grow and expand. We are not there to put the wrench on.
Correct.
So we are a little more flexible in terms of the down payment, the equity injection, the term, the interest rate. There's nowhere in the world you can go and get a loan right now for 75% of prime. We have a program that's funded under the US EDA where we were recently, we applied for and was approved to lend at 75% of prime. Prime is now 3.25. So that's 2 point something.
Yeah, it's. I'm just thinking that if I have my collection of comic book of superhero comic book collection, can that be considered a form of collateral equity that I could put in?
No.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm starting a superhero comic book retail store. Why can't I use that? I'm just saying. If you made it sound as that all businesses are eligible. Fair? If I want to open up, if I come with a viable plan, and I want to open a superhero comic book store, and I'm telling you that I can validate and confirm the value of this asset, you're saying that wouldn't work?
No, that's not how it works. There are seas of credits, of course, that we look into. And it has to do, as we said, with your equity or capital injection. It has to do with the condition of the market. It has to do with collateral. It has to do with credit worthiness. It has to do with the competition. And if you are okay in all these areas, we will do the loan. But if your proposal is not bank worthy or credit worthy, we will most likely you'll be declined.
For the purpose. Yeah. And I know that, Diane, you want to jump right in, but just give me a second. The purpose of the round table is to kind of give people ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone is sitting on their couch, or they've been straddling the fence, kind of like flirting with the idea, maybe not. We're trying to say, listen, outside, in addition to trying to look for work, try to secure a job, maybe you may want to consider a startup, going into business, or look to invest in the business. So I'm trying to give people sort of the some guidance as to what they can do.
Yeah.
So any kind of business should be,
and that is where the SSBI comes into play. The whole substance behind the SSBI program is to create jobs and to retain jobs. It's a bank-driven initiative. The funds are not to be lent out directly by the EDA, SBDA. The prospective borrower will approach his bank of choice. He will apply for the normal process for the credit. The bank will analyze the credit. If for any reason the underwriter, the bank officer, the loan officer realizes that there's a collateral deficiency, then the bank will apply to the EDA, SBA for that collateral support.
So, I'm coming. Right. You are, in essence, the EDA as a lender, because you did say the front line are the commercial banks. They got to go to the banks to get rejected.
Right.
Then they come to you. You become somewhat of a form of a co-signer?
A partial guarantor on behalf to the bank.
Going back to the bank and saying, okay, we're going to take a risk. We're going to take a position with this applicant, and we want you to lend them the money.
Yeah, we will share the guarantee.
We're looking at two different things. Our State Small Business Credit Initiative Program, the SSBCI program, we're not direct lenders of that program. EDA is not. We have other loan programs that we are direct lenders of.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I'm speaking.
And that's where, for part of your question, to tell our audience members who's eligible to come or what kind of business. I think I would want the audience to know that when they're thinking of coming to us for a loan, they want to think of what economic benefit it's providing to the territory. Part of our, I guess, our drive is to make sure that businesses are hiring people. They're expanding to retain jobs, save jobs, create jobs. So I think that's important. So just to say they want to just start any business without it providing any kind of economic benefit, it might be a credit we might not look at. I would not stay here today and say we don't look at any credits. Every credit might be on a case-by-case basis, but our drive at EDA is for businesses to provide economic benefits to the territory.
Sure. And for the person that's viewing and listening, in terms of if they want to make contact, how would they determine who do they go to within the organization or the agency to determine direct monies to borrow, or for you to act as a co-signer, in acting as a collateral to the loan?
Every commercial bank operating in the territory are fully knowledgeable of the program, the SSBCI program. It's a bank-driven initiative, so every lender in the territory. Last week we were in St. Thomas, we visited all the banks and on St. Thomas, and next week we will be on St. Croix, to all the banks, especially the lenders. So they're fully aware of what the program is all about. They are on board, and it's a win-win situation.
Is this a mandated, are they mandated to do so? Is this a compliance issue where banks, like a Community Reinvestment Act type thing?
I'm happy that you mentioned Community Reinvestment Act. They're not mandated, but it is their responsibility to follow the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act, because they have to be part of the solution.
The CRA is important to banks. They must lend, because when they are audited by the FDIC, they have to show within their portfolio activities that they are relending in the community in which they operate, and that's a must, because they are now rated by the FDIC based on how they are lending in compliance with the CRA.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end, and I just want to allow you to provide some closing remarks, if you will, in terms of what would you like. This is your opportunity to really speak to the community. Folks are looking for opportunity. Let me just say, if I'm a Hovensa employee, I got displaced because of the shutdown of the refinery. I have a severance package that I have. Can I come in and use my severance package as a collateral? I don't want to exhaust my own personal money, but I want to come to you for a loan and say, okay, I will secure the loan with my severance package to be able to go into business. You want to add some comments to that and provide some closing remarks?
Definitely. I would like to suggest to every prospective borrower that they should engage their banks, especially for the SSBCI program. It's there to reduce their risk, the bank's risk. It's there to improve their deposits, because these monies are pledged to the bank on behalf of the customer, and they have the opportunity to expand their customer base, to expand their deposit base, and to improve on their loan portfolio. So I would like to encourage the banks to fully participate as they are doing now, and also to encourage the borrowing public to take advantage of this opportunity.
In terms of the Hovensa employees that you spoke about, I would say that I don't even think they would have to come to us, because with them providing a cash collateral for any kind of request, a bank would be willing to support their request. But I would like to tell our audience that We do have direct programs at EDA that we offer to startup businesses and to also existing businesses to expand. The programs are all based on the availability of funds. So it's on a first come, first served basis. So if you may, rush to our doors. We're here to assist you. One thing I would want to stress is that our SSBCI program, it is there. We have $13.1 million to use. We have to exhaust all the funds by October of 2014, or else the money stays with the U.S. Department of Treasury. If you are out there and you want to go to your bank and the loan officer do not mention it to you, bring it up to them. Yeah. Tell them you heard about the SSBCI program and that you would like them to use it so that they can give you a favorable recommendation.
Any closing comments?
Yes, our mission is to support our small business entrepreneurs, and we are happy to do so. We are proud to do so. This administration, the governor and lieutenant governor are with us, and they have shown that by assisting us in our applications and signing off on our applications for the SSBCI program. There's a STEP grant program also to encourage small manufacturers to export their products. So it's all about small business, and that's a backbone of any economy, and we must nurture it.
Let me just say in closing that small firms represent 99.7% of all employer firms. Employ half of all private sector employees, pay 45% of total U.S. private payroll, have generated 60 to 80% of net jobs annually over the last decade, create more than 50% of non-farm private gross domestic product, GDP, supplied more than 23% of the total value of federal prime contracts in fiscal year 2004. And let me just stop there. The president said, and let me quote the president in closing, entrepreneurs embody the promise of America, the idea that if you have a good idea and are willing to work hard and see it through, you can succeed in this country. And in fulfilling this promise, entrepreneurs also play a critical role in expanding our economy and creating jobs. This was quoted by our president, President Barack Obama, January 31st, 2011. I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much. You want to say something in closing?
Yes,
sure.
Please. I would like to give our audience our telephone number, just
sure.
in case you're interested. We are located at number 16 Frederickstead. The number for that location is 773-6499, and our St. Thomas office is 714-1700, and they're at 5055 Noragata Avenue. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to thank our roundtable panelists this afternoon. They're part of the Lending arm, Lending unit of the EDA. And again, why don't you just, for the audience, give them your name and your position as well, and Mr. Edwards as well.
I'm Abraham Edwards, the SSBCI specialist.
And I'm Deanne Dunkirk, the director of Lending.
And of course, I'm Anthony Weeks and co-host
Percy Clouden.
Thank you so much for being part of the roundtable discussion this afternoon. Folks, that you've just heard the third installment of the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority focus on the Virgin Islands marketplace. Have a wonderful evening, enjoy your weekend, and we will talk next week.
Thank you.